Sometime Enigmites, the show goes like this. Somebody will submit something. We'll take a look at it. If it's worthy of taking a look at, we do a deep dive. I got a Rolodex of pros in my lineup, and I just farm out to who gets what. But sometimes, every now and then, life rolls up and throws our topic for us. And so today we have a very, very interesting topic, and it happens to be right up my alley and this dude's alley. Right here, that's when you introduce yourself.
From Uncle Jay's from Uncle Jay's Urban Legends and 11 Dog Media.
Uncle Jay's
author,
Urban Legends.
Researcher.
Uncle Jay's Urban Legends, 11 Dog Media, and renowned author. Jay writes books. I haven't done that in a while. Jay writes books, if you didn't know. Jay writes books.
I just finished it, man.
Tell us about it real quick.
The Shadow War.
Tell everybody where you're at, Jay.
Shadow War is coming out.
Okay.
Shadow War is coming out in probably November. It's the first book. It's like a prequel to Seeds of Terra. It's like the beginning of the first 3 books of the Carina Sagittarium series, which goes into all the history that happened before Seeds of Terra. I pulled a George Lucas and I wrote the middle first. So, whatever.
Good stuff, man.
Happens.
When that drops, we'll pump it hard. But tonight, Enigmites, we got a story that came across us that Jay sent to me, and we dug into, and we're like, you know what, man, we need to make some changes on the production schedule and get this in, because this is a time-sensitive topic, and we wanted to be the first to get it out there. So tonight, guys, we're going to ask a very, very simple question, right? 3 questions, actually, on that. The first question would be, and then what we'll do is we'll unpack each one of those questions. But the first question we're going to ask is the U.S. government about to release the truth about this planet, humanity's true history? That's a good way to put it, Jay, right?
Yeah.
Second thing we're going to ask about it, and we're dead serious, people, when we will make the connection here real soon, is the Appalachian Mountains going to actually play a part in this disclosure?
Human history.
Yeah, rediscovery or whatever. And number 3, how will this actually change the nature of reality for a lot of people? And we'll dig into that.
Yeah.
So, are you ready, son?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get into it. So,
it's one of my favorite things.
Let's go. Let's get into it. So, Enigmites, before I get into this, I'm going to play you a quick 60-second probably clip. And it's going to lead into the first question, what we're talking about. And I'm going to put that in with the magic of my fingers right here.
I think when you are talking about these things, for a lot of people, I think that it kind of can rock your world a little bit in regards to where you stand in a faith perspective. And then also, too, an aspect of, well, how do you even begin to explain it? And all I'm going to say is, look, and we can go into some of the books that were removed from what we know as the modern day Bible, but I read through the Book of Enoch multiple times. And I'm not saying that these things are angels, okay? That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that depending on where you are in regards to your whole perspective on whether or not God exists, like I believe in God, I'm a Christian. There has to have been, and there's admissions that there was other creations that God made, but that we were the most prized creation. And so I think that this can open up a bigger topic of discussion.
And we're back.
Now.
So, now you're asking yourself, why did he put that up there? Well, let me give you something that made me and Jay both pause. That is U.S. Congresswoman Luna. What's her last name, Jay? Anna Luna? Whatever.
Anna DeLuna. Yeah.
Anna DeLuna, who I've actually met. She was at the UAP congressional hearings that I was at this year when I met Tim Burchett. She is on the world's most popular podcast that gets more views than World Cup and everything else translated in so many different languages.
Yeah.
Telling the U.S. population about the Book of Enoch. And I didn't want to go into because for copyright reasons, I can only play a certain amount on that. I highly recommend you go watch that video, you guys. She's specifically talking about that she has proof, our government has proof, they've always had proof, of interdimensional beings and what we should be calling them. And if you watch that, she specifically goes on to the part where she says, you know, she's a Christian and everything else. And that by itself would not, you know, that would be something we would talk about in passing, but we wouldn't dedicate a full episode to, right, Jay?
Yeah, it'd be interesting, right? But it wouldn't really hit the radar, right?
Right.
So like Anna Paulina Luna,
There
right?
she is.
So she is she's a representative for Florida's 13th congressional district, right? And she's also an Air Force veteran.
Right.
So not somebody who's completely cuckoo,
Correct.
right? Like not completely off the rails.
And she has her faculties about her, right? We would say of sound mind and body. But that in itself is not what made me pause about this. What made me pause about this is because earlier this week, this is actually being recorded on a Friday. Earlier this week, Trump.
Funny thing about weekends when you're unemployed.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, man, exactly. Exactly when you lose track of days. Trump signed an executive order ordering the Smithsonian Institute to release all artifacts, all reports, and all datas. And this is very important as well, including the ones in the tunnels.
The ones in the deep archive.
Exactly right. The ones in the tunnels. Now that on top of this and the other fiduciary that I haven't...
Just the disclosure, and it's all kind of tying together.
It's all coming in together, right?
Ball.
Exactly right. Made me give pause. Me and this guy right here on more than one episode have talked about how we have brought the receipts about how the Smithsonian, or basically the Freemason men in black, show up and steal and take and kill to protect secrets, right? The episode we did, you can find in the Enigma Cast archives, was about the 1919 Grand Canyon scandal that went on.
Yeah.
Which you still can't get to today. You still can't get in those caves today. If you go there, they talked about this on the Rogan podcast as well, just used as a reference. Blackhawks will show up.
Yeah.
Blackhawks will show up. Yeah.
It's an entrance.
It is an interest because, Jay, you know, we also talk about it that they used a very specific type of metal, cast iron bars, which is not, it's not as strong as titanium. It's not as strong as, you know, you name it. But according to myth and legend,
multiple sources, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Demons can't touch it. Demons can't touch. Demons get burned when they touch cast iron. So they put cast iron bars on all these caves. And if you go there, they will murk you. So anyways, Jay, this is a big deal, man. A very attractive U.S. Congresswoman with a very reputable background. Again, the messenger plays a part. And I'll tell you that, right? If it would have been some kooky guy out there looking like Gandalf, talking about they're here, people are going to be like, look at this guy over here, right? But,
true.
So Air Force vet, U.S. Congresswoman, easy on the eyes, sitting down with Joe Rogan, shotgun a message out the same week that Donald Trump signs an EO telling the Smithsonian that they got to release the giant bones that they've rounded up for all the years, right? And she specifically goes into the Book of Enoch. And she specifically goes into stating that we know that we were or are not God's only creation. We're his most valuable creation, right? And that right there made me, and Enigmites, words matter. Absolutely, words matter.
Yeah,
man. Words matter, right?
Right?
Yeah. And so I'm kind of blown away, man.
It's all in how she's phrasing some of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting to me that the Book of Enoch keeps resurfacing.
Yeah.
Right. For us specifically, like we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
To me, it has always read like a first contact story.
Yeah. For sure.
Of something not of some non-terrestrial intelligence meeting up with humans, and the human account from the human perspective of what these non-terrestrial intelligences look like.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't argue with that, right? They say they are not of this earth. They are of the heavens.
Yep.
Right? And Enoch gets taken up into the heavens.
Correct.
But there's, and she talked about it on the podcast, like, she read it like I read it.
Yes.
right? Like, and I'm a science fiction novelist and I'm a science fiction guy. Like, I love that stuff, right? And so to frame it in that perspective and to look at it at that perspective, and it was kind of reassuring to know that I'm not the only one who like looks at it like that, right? I mean, these are people who were in like Stone Age technology, right? They were barely, if they even had the wheel at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Talking to something they just didn't understand.
Correct.
Right. And so when you look at these uncontacted tribes, and like there's so much evidence there to frame a human meeting something that they don't understand. They always think of the gods, right? They always they always frame it in a mythological or a religious perspective.
Correct.
Because to them it's magic.
Yep.
Right? Like this thing is magic.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like it is a black cube that opens into a bigger black cube and then shows you stuff. To someone in and someone 100 years ago would have shit their pants.
Yeah, it would have totally
to see a cell phone.
It would have totally been a culture shock for them. And again, I had a conversation too about why, words matter. There's a reason why the English language is the dominant language on the planet. And people say, "Oh, it's because of economics." Partially so, but the English language is the most complex language, and it has. I had these statistics in front of me earlier because I'm a nerd. We have the amount of words in English compared to other languages. We're 15,000. 15,000.
We kind of steal stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's the most.
We just steal it. We just wrap it in our own language, right? Yeah. Words from other languages, they just they get glommed in there.
Yeah, they flow in, right? So when she says, when she says, we've been studying the Book of Enoch now for 2 years, easy, right? And we were laughed at.
Yeah.
We people laugh. Nobody's laughing at us now. I'll tell you that, right? Because Enoch, again, Enigmites, if you're new to the channel, Enoch was a 7th generation direct descendant from Adam. Other parts of the Bible reference Enoch. Enoch was the father of Methuselah. Methuselah was the great grandfather, or he was the grandfather, of Noah, right? God loved Enoch so much, he took him. He never died. He took him. He only did that with Elias. One other person he did it with was Elias. And
Elijah.
He did Elijah. Elijah and Enoch were both, God just took them.
The favored children or the successful experiment, depending on how you want to look at it.
Exactly. And that's a great way to put it. And if you read the Book of Enoch, when the Nephilim started having the nightmares about the flood and their destruction, and the 200 watchers were told that four things they feared, and that would be Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Ariel were on their way.
Uriel, yeah.
They freaked out. The 200 Sam Jaws and all these guys, they freaked out, and they went to who, Jay? Enoch. They went to a man and said, please petition our story to the Creator because you're so close with him, right? And Enoch did.
Well, and it speaks to like his favorite status, right? Yeah. Like this was a person who had somehow gained the trust and the favor of
God,
the boss.
Of the boss, right?
Of the boss,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Like this is the boss's favorite guy.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Yeah, you guys are on your own. You've been pulling some shenanigans, and this is what you get."
Yeah,
and it was crazy. The Book of Jasher. We did a video on it. Again, you can look in the Enigma Cast archives in there. God responded and said, "No, tell them they're cooked. They're done. Yep. If they repent, literally the last thing it says in the Book of Jasher, if they repent, maybe." But he told Enoch, he wasn't mad with Enoch. Yeah, he wasn't
maybe.
Like, no. He's like, maybe. He told Enoch, no, tell them they're cooked. They're done. Right.
Yeah.
And 4 heavy hitters showed up, man. And there was a price to pay. Right. And again, what goes into it as well, man, it's fascinating too, man.
just the psychology of it,
yeah,
right?
But why?
Just
Go ahead.
The thought that like these guys, and I'm going to come at it from a completely different perspective, right? Like a non-religious, secular perspective, and just look at the story and kind of strip away the religious aspect of it, right? And look at the root story. These guys were tasked with a job. They went native.
Yeah.
100% went native.
Yeah.
And then said, "Hey, can you tell the boss we're not such bad guys?" And he's like, "I'll try, but you're kind of done, guys, you know."
Yeah.
And the boss was like, "Nope, not having it."
And this also goes to show that the importance that he has. And I'm gonna bring this full circle in a second, right? About the lies. They sinned against Enoch. Was on the earth the same time, right? God took Enoch right before Methuselah died. Right when Methuselah died, the flood started, right? And so Enoch was on the earth when this was going on, and they didn't mess with him. They knew not to mess with him. No one gave him any trouble. No one messed with Enoch, right? And again, I've heard people say, "Oh, he's Toth Trice Magesta. He's whatever you want to call him." Whatever you want to call him, man. You can call him whatever, man. But
you give him a dozen different names, but he's the same dude.
It's the same guy, right? And Trump saying, "I want all the giant bones and stuff like that released," goes on to prove these things were supposedly 15 feet tall. 15 feet tall. Wasn't metaphorical. The old Nephilim, the Watchers, when they came down, were 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet tall, right? And there was 200 of them, and you really only know the names of like 3 or 4.
Couple, yeah. There's only a couple that have like their names actually put out there, but 200 is a considerable amount.
Yeah. And you
got to think about the timeline too. Like there was a space of time there.
Yeah.
Between when they came down and when they got caught. Yeah. That's a considerable amount of time, because you got to think, you know, they had children and then the children's children. So that's 2 generations.
They had longer lifespans.
Like, depending on physiology and everything like that, that's, you got to, you know, a conservative estimate of 30 to 40 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also too, man, they said the Methuselah was 996 years old. And so
think about it.
Yeah. So.
Right.
And so, and that leads me into another thing too, Jay, to get into, we're going to segue into the Appalachian Mountain aspect on this, and why this plays a part is because there is people going around talking about that the Ark was discovered in Turkey on top of Mount Ararat, I think is what it says, right? And they did this analysis of it, and they said it was made of gopher wood, and gopher wood only grows in Florida, which is true. And again, Enigmites, 2 or 3 things can be true at the same time, but let me tell you what really happened. And so what they want to say is that they want to say that Israel is, you know, in East Tennessee or West Tennessee, Memphis. It's not. What you're failing to understand is, yes, the Ark was made of gopher wood. Yes, gopher wood only grows in Florida. But right before the flood started, Florida wasn't here. The continent that were there, if you push everything together, you have the continent of Pangea. I'm telling you, the flood was so powerful, it ripped the continents apart. The Appalachian Mountain Range, 2 months ago, I think, and we broke this a year ago. Go look it up. The Appalachian Mountain Range, 2 months ago,
is one of the old.
It is the oldest. It is the oldest mountain range on planet Earth. It runs from Georgia above ground. It runs from Georgia, but underground, it probably goes all the way down to Colombia. But it runs from Colombia, the country, you know, near Venezuela and Panama, all the way up to the east coast of Canada. So when Noah, it took Noah 120 years to build the ark. So he was chopping down gopher wood, but Florida was 20, 30, 40, 50,000 miles not where it's at. And that would explain why Antarctica flash froze. Because if you read the book of, you know, the story, floods came out of the earth. as well as down, right? And we also know that the Younger Dryas happened at the exact same time, where a giant freaking, rock slammed into.
I think your timelines are a little off there.
Right. And it popped.
Pangea was way back when.
I don't believe that.
Millions of years ago.
I don't believe it. I think they're lying to us. That's where I was going with this. I think they're
lying to us.
Yeah, I think they're lying to us, right? I think they're lying to us about that Pangea was 1 billion years old, especially if you start pulling the string about what people are talking about, how dinosaurs were actually just dragons. There was no real dinosaurs, right? That they were just the dragons that they were talking about. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, Jay, so segue into that. Even if it's, we'll agree to disagree if it's 1 billion years old or a couple million years old or a couple thousand years old.
The possibility exists, though. Like, if they were, there could have been plants and animals that we didn't even think of.
Exactly.
In different places we didn't think of. Like, couple 20, 30,000 years ago or whatever. 15,000 years ago is about what we're talking about.
Exactly. Right. We'll go back 16,000 to the Younger Dryas.
Gopher wood could have grown in that area pre Younger Dryas event, right?
It's possible.
Or something that would be so similar as to be undetectable.
Maybe.
Right.
But we'll talk about that in another episode. But so Jay, I'm gonna hand this off to you to let you do your deep dive on this. If we were rogue Nephilim or bad boy Anunnakis who, gave up our, or watchers, and we knew that Papa was sending 4 big brothers down here and we were about to get it, why would the Appalachian mountain ranges be something that would be an interest to us?
Because it's an awesome place to hide.
Yes, it is. Break it down, Jay.
Okay, so looking at the U.S. Geological Survey and looking at a bunch of different evidence, right? And this is stuff that's scientifically proven. And you can go and walk in the caves if you want. Go to Mammoth Cave or any of the cave systems underneath the Appalachian Mountains, and there's extensive cave network down there just because of the geology, right? It's what they talk about, karst formations, right, where it's limestone and the rock formations are dissolvable by water, right? Water will eventually erode it away at, say, like a quicker rate than something like granite or bedrock, right? So there's just, and like you can visit them. There's caves from, New York State all the way down to Georgia. Yes. Just huge, huge caves, right? Yes. And this cave system is close to the East Coast. So what better place to hide than underground?
Correct.
What better place that connects to the ocean? If you're an advanced technology society, that limestone is easy to get through, right? You could dissolve it with high pressure water.
And here's 2 facts to back him up. One, if you're not familiar with Mammoth Cave is a cave system in Kentucky that they've only explored 426 miles of, right? And there's an estimated 1,000 more miles there. As recently as last week, there was another massive UFO sighting in up North State, New Jersey. Sasquatch Steve Taylor reported on it. But also the Hudson River is a hot spot of UFOs coming in and out. And if you follow my man's theory over here, it's because they're hitting the water, going into the cave system underground. So no one ever sees them, crashing in or out, right? They come back and forth that way, right? So yes, please continue, sir.
What better way to come in and out undetected?
Right.
Right? If you have a transmedium craft,
correct,
meaning it can just go right into the ocean and it doesn't... Look, anything that's capable of going out in space is capable of going underwater, right? Like,
too true.
It's airtight. It has to be airtight. It has to be sealed against the vacuum of space. Then it's probably seaworthy as well. Right. Yeah. And if it's able to travel these long, huge astronomical distances, going under the ocean ain't going to be a problem. And in fact, it's the best place to land.
Well, yeah. And I'll even tell you this, too, because another thing, I know we have some, I don't want to call them smarties here, but we have people that are, I like to call Captain Literals. These cave systems also have the ability to produce their own fresh water. Fact, right? They also are free of all kinds of satellite. You can't see it. The Smoky Mountains. I grew up in the Smoky Mountains. West Virginia is
Satellite, electromagnetic radiation,
none.
all that stuff shielded by tons and tons of rock.
Tons and tons and tons of rock, right? Also, too, right? So there's plenty of fresh water in there. There's aquifers in there. There's plenty of remote places that people still haven't explored in there. They just haven't. And
it's the same thing on the West Coast with all these caves in the Rocky Mountains.
Right, exactly, right? So
what's under there too? What's under there as well? Geothermal power.
Exactly.
How better to power everything off the grid with nobody being able to detect weird radiation or weird energy signatures than to just mask it under heat.
Correct.
Right? Just use geothermal power. Use the power that's already flowing under the surface. You don't need to build a fusion reactor or anything like that. You just stick a hot pipe into the lava and you're good.
Yeah. And so it could be done. Also, there is biblical references of them hiding. If you read the book of Revelation, talks about those who live on the earth and in the earth. And it also talks about in the book of Revelations, ripping mountains open and pulling people out of the earth. Men and mighty men. Now, every time you hear the term mighty men in the Bible, that's a Nephilim. That's a Nephilim or whatever you want to call it, right? So,
yeah.
So we know that there's, and again, to keep us on track, you have a congresswoman talking about the Book of Enoch, right? And I guarantee you there's people
in reaction to the UAP stuff.
It does. It absolutely does. That
was the whole context of the conversation.
Yeah, right?
She was talking about the Book of Enoch and UAP stuff at the same time.
Exactly. And I guarantee you, thousands and thousands of people Googled what's the Book of Enoch when that episode was over, and they went and read on it as well. And she also goes on to say, and this is also too, I think this is very important. She also goes on to say that we know God created other things. We're just his most valued creation, right? That tells you right there, they know we're not alone. They just don't want to go on. They don't want to go on there. And this is my opinion. They don't want to go on there and say, look, whoa, cause mass panic or whatever, which I don't quite get, but still.
What would be worse than knowing? So the whole disclosure thing and why is it such a big secret? What would be earth-shattering? Not that there's aliens, but that the aliens have been here the whole freaking time.
Right underneath us.
They're right underneath us, and they've been here the whole time. It's not an invasion at that point. Yeah. It's a well-established alien presence for thousands of years.
Correct.
And that would unwind both religion and our idea that we're the apex predator on the earth.
So, well, here's the thing right there too, right? And when I go a slightly different direction with it, right? I go a different direction with it on that. And I get into trouble with other Christians on this. I do. And I don't know why. And I'm not a good, Jay, you can help me out with my language here. I'm not a good keep my temper down when I'm having a conversation with kind of guy, right? Would you agree, Jay? You've seen me.
I might agree with that. Yeah. Been known to happen.
You've known me for 30 plus years, 20 plus years now, easily right now, right? So I actually, when I've had Christians come to me, is like, you know what, you're spreading heresy. The book of Enoch was taken out for a reason. And my thing was like, yeah, it was taken out of reason. Do you know why? And they don't know why. I know why. The Catholic Church will tell you they took it out because it gave out too much information. That's what they say. They don't hide it.
It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. That's why they took it out. It was too hard to explain. Period.
Yeah.
That was it.
It was too close to sci-fi for them.
It makes the book of Genesis much more easy to understand. The book of Enoch originally was right after the book of Genesis. It makes it much more easier to, oh, well, dang, that explains a lot. That's why the flood. That's why it was this. So, yeah, they don't know the reason why. But I tell you this, and I tell people this all the time. There's a reference in Scripture where Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he says, or his apostles, and he was like, there's many mansions in my Father's house. I go there to prepare a room for you. I always took that in a younger understanding that he's actually talking about a brick and mortar, like, okay, house.
Mansion in the sky.
But he's not. When he's talking about mansions, he's talking about universes, other things, mansions. God would not create, the earth is freaking perfect. The earth is a self-regulating. If you leave it alone, it will freaking.
It's the best planet we've found so far.
Exactly right. You'll leave it alone, right? God would not stop with this creation. It even says that the earth is God's footstool. Heaven's where he's at. So, like, as perfect as the earth is, it's his where he puts his feet, right? So, when God created man, right? It says that they were men on the earth, mighty men of great stature, right? Was in there, right? They're not allowed to touch us. And even when you and again, I know right now I got people just gripping their chairs right now.
Their chair.
Yeah, so look, even if you want to go the Sumerian tablets route, Enki and Enlil got into a heated fight because Enlil said, "You made them too strong. They could be stronger." That's why they fought. The two brothers got into a fight because he said, "You made them too strong." We are one, and the Bible says we are wonderfully and fearfully made. Right?
There's something about us that scares things.
It does.
We're scary somehow.
Yeah, we are. And that's what I try to tell people when they get up to me about this whole Christian thing on it. Like, that's not this, not and the other. No, man, it's what they told you it's not, right? It's what they tell you that it's not, right? And God made us with free will. We're not his slaves. We're not his, we don't, you can do whatever. You pay the price.
You think about the Watchers, right?
Yeah.
They found something interesting about us.
Correct.
Because they went native.
Our hotties, they liked our hotties.
There was something interesting about us. Like, just like step back from it and look at the story and say, the Watchers were here to do a job.
Correct.
And they found us so intriguing and so interesting that they broke their oath. Right? They went off program.
Yeah.
And knowing the repercussions of that, they still did it.
And that's a great point,
so
Jay.
Why are we so special that it would cause angelic beings supposedly so superior to us to be so fascinated that they went full on native?
Yeah. Knowing.
They put everything on the line.
Knowing they were going to eventually get caught. That's the thing that I want to add to that right now. These guys went to in the book, in the scriptures, I'll say, they went to their leader, this watcher named Samjaja. And he said, "I ain't doing this alone. You're all going to take an oath with me. And if it goes south, right?
We're all going down together.
We'll all go down together, right?" And I've never been able to find these writings, but people have submitted me saying that not all 200 fell. Oh, again, all the stuff I'm telling you, and that's what you want to point out, man. Okay, 3
doesn't
stayed
matter
back.
if 10 fell.
Exactly right. So
right,
yeah,
there was a number of them, and it doesn't matter what that number is.
Yeah, and they sent
these things that were supposed to be on a job, risked everything
for us to get down with us,
to just be part of our society or be part of what was happening here.
Exactly.
Right?
And it infuriated God so much that he sent not one, but 4 bad man, serious dudes, man, to handle this. In fact, there was a paragraph in the Book of Giants that Jay and I talked about where I think it was Gilgamesh or somebody was in there. He was at the they held a conclave, and he straight up said, "If he sent the sons of heaven here, we don't stand a chance." And he left. He literally left. He's like, "We're done." He's like, "We're done, man." And so that's the thing.
They were all, and like one of the most fearsome of them, right?
Yeah. Their leader.
Uriel, right? Uriel is the one who they all feared. he was the big heavy hitter. Like,
Was that John's name?
Described.
Or was that
No, just one of the four archangels.
Oh, the four, yeah.
So there was Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, and
Raphael,
yeah. Right? Raphael, they talk about being merciful, but Uriel is the guy you just he's that guy.
I actually think too. I haven't read it in a minute, but I think he's the one they sent to deal with Azazel. Like the worst watcher was Azazel. He was the one that was up to the most mischief, right? And I think you're right. He's like, yo, you handle that, right? And so then he came down, and that's how it got into.
He handled it.
And so, yeah, Jay, so that right there myself is that we've talked about this several times on the show, that the Appalachian mountain range would be the perfect place to hide. It would be the perfect place to do. And then earlier,
well, and think about the history of the time, right? Mm-hmm. So let's frame it like this. If everything's going on over here in Africa and the Middle East, and you need to go hide somewhere, you're going to go to the other side of the earth, and you find the oldest geological formation on Earth, and you find it full of caves. You've got an easy entrance and exit that no one can see from space, that no one can detect from space because it's under tons of rock.
And you can survive a flood there.
And you can survive just about anything there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and here's going to add this into it as well. I get a lot of feedback saying, I'm blessed to have people who watch our show from freaking overseas, and they're like, this only happens in America. Yeah, this is why. It's because this is where it's at.
They came to hide.
This is where they're hiding. They're not in, Egypt or, Pakistan.
Well, think about a more...
They're not there.
And I'm sure that there's probably other places, but if you wanted to flee retribution, you're going to go to the other side of the planet. And you're going to hide in a place where no one can find you.
I would also say you want to go deep.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So, like, if you find this geological formation that you can easily, like, when I say, okay, so if you look at like Mount Shasta and the Rocky Mountains, that's like granite and bedrock, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can use that as your power station because it's volcanically active. At the Appalachians, though, the Appalachians is the oldest mountain range on Earth. It's been around forever. It has survived every cataclysm for millions of years. And it's got an extensive cave network. And you can easily connect it to the ocean.
Yep.
Right? There's been sightings around the Chesapeake Bay, all up and down the Carolinas, right? Which is right there. Like the caves, there's no evidence to suggest that they connect, but there's a lot of hydrologic activity between the two, right? So, like, you could easily, like, if you had any kind of equipment, advanced equipment, you could drill into that limestone.
Oh, too easy.
You could make tunnels into that limestone.
Too easy.
Sinkholes happen all the time.
Too easy.
Just by natural water flow.
Yeah, it's way too easy as well, man. And also, too...
So you could drill in from the Atlantic shelf.
Yeah.
Right? You could drill in from the Atlantic shelf and make a nice big entrance that you hit the water, out to sea far enough so that people on the beach can't see you. Oh, and then we talk about Columbus and what he saw. It's the same kind of area.
We talked about that as well. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, because I like to go in the extra steps as well, is that we've talked about this before. We'll probably do a deep dive on this as well. But there is actually in the Smoky Mountains, there is reference to Nephilim-like beings and also aliens, right? And also, too, you can go look that there was, Native Americans talk about fighting giants all the time, right? That's not a thing, right? But however, there's also a Cherokee oral tradition about these beings called the Moon-Eyed people, right? And so I'm going to read to you what I got down here, so I want to make sure I get it right. But it says that the Moon-Eyed people were a mysterious race of small, pale-skinned, bearded, they said, beings who lived in the Appalachian regions long before the Cherokee arrived. That's important. They were said to be unable to see in daylight. Why? Because they lived inside the freaking mountains, period. They only could come out at night. The sun was too bright for them. They only came out at night, and that's where they got their name from. Now, the Cherokee people, again, I think I grew up in Upper East Tennessee, and I grew up in the Cherokee, area. And one of the things I've always laughed about is that Indians sat around and huffed peace pipes all day long. They were definitely, not warring tribes at all. Matter of fact, Upper East Tennessee had the Cherokees, and Southeast Tennessee, northern Georgia, had the Choctaw. Those boys could fight. Period. And people want to talk about these Mohicans. I don't see any Mohicans around anymore, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But the Cherokees and the Choctaw could fight. Period. And that's just how it is. As a matter of fact, we did an episode here where they ended up in Oklahoma and could fight. Right?
Yeah. And they were here for thousands of years before we showed up.
Thousands of years before horses even got here, right? So the Native Americans were never a peaceful people. Sorry, I hate to break your narrative on that, right?
No, there was a lot of raiding and warring and
exactly right,
killing going on here long before we showed up.
Yeah, and so what they did was they basically went to pound town on these moon-eyed people, man. They drove them out, man. And actually, man, there used to be a carving. I couldn't find it. If you can find this, Enigmites, paste the link in the comments. There used to be a statue called a moon-eyed people statue in Murphy, North Carolina, carved from stones, right? And it said it had bulging eyes and once displayed in front of a courthouse. But some antiquarians, Jay, people who like antiques, named Benjamin Smith Barton in the late 1700s, recorded the story, which helped spread the tale. And so, so you have...
Think about that.
Well, I mean, you can also don't even get me started on, like, we did the Wampus Cat, we did Bigfoot, we did Dogman, there's the hell dogs. I mean, there's all kinds of.
What if it's not us? What if it's okay? So let's walk down that road for a minute, right? We already know that there were monsters, right? The Book of Monsters, where they had all kinds of different chimera. All kinds of genetic experimentation going on. Why would they not take some of those with them? Yeah. When they left.
Well, yeah. I mean, you understand.
What if it's not us making Dogmen? What if it's them underneath the mountains making Dogmen?
That's a great point.
Continuing their genetic experiments for thousands of years, like they had been from the beginning. Like, if you look at it, they did genetic experiments. They tried to cross different creatures.
Yeah, they did.
Right? Extensively. And it talks about it in what was it, the Book of Giants?
Book of Giants, yeah.
There was a nigh on a menagerie of different kinds of things getting together in that council. Yeah. Talking about the flood and what was coming. Oh, yeah. And if you have knowledge beyond what the humans did at that time, and you're going to flee, you're going to take as many as you can of your allies, right? They could have brought a bunch of different kinds of their genetic experiments along,
and also
hit them underground.
But also, what also makes me think about the stories that we've been told. We covered the Joe Barger story. He dropped one in Michigan. We've heard several stories about special operations units going in and hunting these things, and that's going to lead me into my next segue right here, Jay, as we walk down this fascinating development in my mind. What does this mean for our future? As a human, what do you think the end game is with this? I mean, again, on this show, Enigmites, we won't talk about something unless we'll often disagree on what it is, but we'll never disagree that something happened, because if it's not something, we wouldn't even talk about it. Like, they're doing this for a reason.
Every story has a root.
Yeah, they're doing it for a reason, right? It's not just for no.
Yeah, nobody does anything for no reason. Even if they don't really understand their own reasoning, they do it, right? There's a cause and effect here, right? So I think, okay, so if you're hiding and you don't want anybody to find you, you swear everybody to secrecy, which explains as to why there's no disclosure or anything like that. Neither side wants to get found.
Correct.
Right? So like you just walking down this road, if you have a non-terrestrial intelligence that's been hiding underground for thousands of years, humans' leadership doesn't want that to come out because that invalidates their hold on power and this idea that we're the king species of the earth, right? It kind of like takes their power away a little bit. Well, if there's these huge advanced, civilization on the ground and we can't fight them in a reasonable kind of way, then what good are you? Right? And then the other side of it of, hey, when our boss slung a giant ice ball at the earth and tried to wipe us all out, we escaped. We don't want to get caught either.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, exactly right.
Right? They don't want to get caught. They don't want anyone out, like the authorities of whatever authority that they report to. They don't want them to find out that some of them survived the giant, ice rock that they slung at the earth. Like anything with the power to be able to travel between stars. If you're hiding from something that is as powerful as whatever they're describing, be it God or, the galactic, interdimensional, whoever, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't want that to come out. You don't want them to know that you survived. And they don't want us to know that they survived because that tells everyone, hey, we're not alone.
So
and we don't have the power that we think we do.
So why are they coming forward now, do you think? Because that's totally what this was.
Because I think it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
I think we're reaching the point now where, okay, it took me how long to put this together? A couple years just to put it together in my own brain. We're reaching this point at which, and I hate to dive into AI, but like, it's a tool. It can find correlations and use the data we give it to make connections that we wouldn't be able to on our own, right? It finds a million different proteins in 15 minutes. It solves the fusion problem with magnetic fields, right? How long is it between having the capability to do those kinds of jobs to putting together a correlative history and saying, look, here's the real story, guys. This AI has connected all the dots in history.
Correct.
To give us a little bit different perspective on how it all went down.
And and this is where I think you're spot on with that right there is because the quickest way, it's unavoidable. The quickest way to destroy a so-called expert is to catch them in one lie. One lie, right? One lie, right? But the quickest way
to pull that thread.
And to pull that thread, right? And we've been lied to forever.
A lot.
Forever, right? So badly we've been lied to, right? But if you want to be that hero, you want to be the one to say, here's the lie. Here's what really happened. And I think you're spot on, right? And I'm going to come at two different angles on that. One, I think that two things. One, the AI aspect that you were talking about, how it's running away with it, right, or whatever. You just can't. When noticing is happening, our planet, even though I think is full of stupid people, is smarter than they were 100 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody.
For sure. There
were guys back in the day that could take apart a carburetor, and then when you get a battery, it tells you not to drink the battery acid today, right? They have to put that in there. Don't eat Tide Pods, kid, right? Don't eat the Tide Pods. They didn't have
the tools, though.
Yeah.
They didn't have the tools that we have right now.
But on average, man, when the noticing starts and when you can't walk things back anymore, you can't walk it back anymore. So they want to get out in front of it, because if you get out in front of something, you can totally control the narrative. That's what she's talking about. Like, we're God's favorite, but he made other things, right? Number two, that's just my.
Well, I mean, it's been historically proven that in order to control the information and to get out in front of the narrative is to have that control of information, right? The conqueror writes history.
Right. But if
there's no one left to tell the tale, your version of the story is the truth.
Exactly. That's a good point. That's a great saying right there. But also too, Jay, I also think too that because we actually have looked into this book over our shoulder, and we know that there used to be a book called the Book of Jubilees talking about like the God's timetable, or the divine timeline can't be stopped, right? It's
completely different.
Yeah, exactly right. You can go left here, you can go right here, you can sit at your house, you can jump out of a plane, but this train keeps moving, right? And this is about to happen. And it leads me into the fact that, again, I've said this before, when you read the book of Revelations, it talks about at the Battle of Armageddon, crows feasting on the bodies of men and mighty men. Those are Nephilim, right? Those have to be reintroduced into the world before
we find them.
The events happen. And last month I did a little post about how Elon Musk gave Japan billions of dollars to move forward with their cat girl hybrid. They're making cat girls in Japan. That's not even a joke.
It's not.
They're making cat
human
women.
Hybridization.
Exactly right. But here's where I go down. Here's where I go full tinfoil. They've already known it. We've already done it. It's already done. They're already made. They know.
I'll go even further and say they are us.
Yeah, they've known this for years. They've known it for years. And again, I get into people all the time, right? If you don't have to believe in the book of Revelations, the people who worship Satan, they believe it. They think there's a war coming, and they think they think they can win. So they're preparing for a fight, right?
Yeah.
And so,
well, I mean, come on, look around. If anybody thinks that all of this isn't going to end in violence, they're naive.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's happened. The world is starting to tear itself apart.
Yeah.
Like just even from a remote perspective of looking at the chaos that's happening. But it's a turbulent time because I think we're right on the edge of things.
Yeah.
There's always a turbulent time right on the edge. Like the Industrial Revolution, right before the Industrial Revolution happened, there was chaos in the world. Right? Because for me, it all comes back to the tools that we use. Whenever there's been a jump in technology, there's been chaos.
Correct.
And right now, we're on the edge of so many different jumps in technology. Fusion is a thing. They said fusion was 50 years away, and it's been 50 years away for 100 years. It's here. We have AI who can correlate data on massive scales, find new proteins, find new weapons. I mean, you've got dudes in Ukraine who are 3D printing war machines in their backyard, right? There's a huge jump coming, and this is what happens when there's a huge jump coming. Chaos happens.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's going to just
pop off.
We're here. No, I just think that you might not believe this, Enigmites, but I've been in a few scuffles in my life, right? And so those scuffles,
one or two
scuffles in my life.
Nah, really? Nah.
And
nah.
The ones that have been the most wild are the ones that just start, like it boom, it just starts, right?
Comes out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, right? Just like, well damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you really feel?
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, so that's what I think's going on here. But I do think, man, that that there's a spiritual nature to this, and I do think that we don't have all the answers. I don't have the conclusion here.
Well, we don't have all the information.
Yeah,
we don't have all the information.
Never would have thought that they would have ever acknowledged the Book of Enoch. I never would have thought that, right? I never would have thought that. That tells me a lot of things too. That tells me a lot of things, man. That tells me a lot of things, that not only are they driving this narrative with UAP disclosure, interdimensional stuff, Smithsonian stuff, but they've also seems to have conquered the churches, mainly the Catholic Church. Again, no offense to any Catholics who watch this, but the Catholic Church is not innocent in this. It is Mystery Babylon, in my opinion, out of the Book of Revelations. And I do think that Catholics do an upside down cross when they make that thing. I do. And I'm the only one that seems to think I noticed that, but it doesn't seem like a cross to me on their chest. It looks like it's upside down to me, but sure. And it's not, yeah. But anyways, I'm not here to start a fight.
Start a religious fight, right?
Yeah, I'm not, man. Like, I'm not.
You can't deny religion's role in trying to control people.
Yeah, exactly.
You just can't deny it.
But the fact that the new pope is a gringo, is an American dude, right? So the new pope is an American guy, and we're talking about the Book of Enoch. There's no coincidences, man. There's no coincidences here, right? You just don't know how these people work, man. You've never been in those rooms, right, with those closed doors. There's nothing left to chance, right? They don't leave it to chance, right? Here's the narrative. Here's what you're going to do. Anybody gets in your way, you know the drill, right? Handle it, right?
Yeah, well, they have to. The powers that be are always self-interested.
Yeah.
Right? Every human on earth is self-interested. Right? If they have enough information, they're going to act in their own best interests. Correct. And that people with huge amounts of power are always, always, always going to reinforce their own power. Why wouldn't they?
Correct.
It makes no sense to not do that.
Well, so Jay, as we wind it down right here, you know how I like to do? I like to throw one more thing at you here. Give me your timeline. When's it going to jump off, Jay?
I give us about... dude, in all honesty, the biggest 2 years. It comes in for some reason. 2027 to me feels like a turning point. Yeah. But I'm going to say between 2 and 5, just because I'm looking at the trajectory of our technology, right? And I'm looking at it from our tools perspective. So it's getting out of control, man.
I actually agree with you on that, man. I'm very optimistic on about what's going to happen and what's going to go down. I think
the other side of it looks good, but there's going to be a time of chaos.
I actually think that I don't know, man. I got a feeling something's going to go off in September. So don't know. But I'll say October. I think by October, man, there's going to be some bacon grease flying, man. There's going to be some cooking going on, right? So
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you never know.
Surprise me in the least little bit. Yeah. I've been waiting for it to jump off for the last 3 to 5 months, man.
You want to hear something, Nick Mites? I met this dude way back in the day, man. First conversation he has, the world's going to run out of oil and we're going to have to fight. That's the first conversation this guy ever had with me, right? And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm just like, you want a Corona? Say, yeah, man. We're running out of oil. We're gonna get back to it.
I think that was later on, but yeah, for sure.
So anyway, nerds, you know how we do around here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Give us a subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. If you got any comments on any theories about what we're talking about, leave it in the comment section below, man. Also, too, let us know if you think when and if you think it's going to jump off and go
read some books.
Go read some books. All right, Jay, you got anything else as we close out?
That's it.
All right, you know how we do around here, nerds. That's all you get for $1. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.